Hello, friends. We are going to discuss a very unusual incident in India-US diplomatic relationship today. As we know, since the beginning of Trump administration 2.0, the relationship has dived deep into the South. But there have been very interesting incidents that are coming to light. Most recent was a joint meeting on the sidelines of G7 summit in French Alps city of Evian-le-Bain, in which both President Trump and Prime Minister Modi met. Apparently, there was a request from MEA in India not to have a joint press conference or questions be allowed. Mr. Sergio Gore, the US ambassador to India, was given this information. And apparently he claims that he did pass the ask of MEA to President Trump. Mr. Sergio Gore was appointed as a very special person who is close to Mr. Trump, has direct access to him. He does say that he told Mr. Trump, who forgot about it. Now, this created a furor later on in India. Apparently, Mr. Trump forgot about MEA's ask and started taking questions from the correspondents. And that whole thing lasted for 45 minutes. All the questions were directed towards Mr. Trump. Nobody asked any questions to Prime Minister Modi. And this was an embarrassing situation. Now, when this came to light and Mr. Gore claimed that he did tell Mr. Trump and Mr. Trump forgot, the hyperactive opposition parties in India, who are always looking for scoring brownie points, made it an issue of prestige of India on an international platform. Specifically, the Congress Party spokesperson said that the office of Prime Minister was disrespected as well as diminished if the US side ignored the request from MEA, and they raised further question as to why Prime Minister Modi is avoiding the press freedom. Well, one thing is certain, when these kind of events happen, they are very carefully staged by countries and they have things pre-negotiated. So there's nothing unusual about it. It has nothing to do with press freedom. It has all to do with how you want to convey your message, whether you want to use that particular platform to dive into bilateral relationship. Keeping in mind the unpredictability of Mr. Trump, it would have been much better that questions were avoided. And one can understand the MEA's perspective because Mr. Trump has shown total disinhibition and lack of diplomatic etiquette in certain meetings with world leaders. It is also true, Mr. Trump, who is 80 years old, has cognitive deficits and tends to forget things very easily. So it's presumed that probably he forgot what was the ask of MEA. So I'll give him a pass on this, and I'll give Sergio Gore also a pass on this, that his revelation that Mr. Trump did not accede to or did not respond to or forgot about the ask of MEA. Well, that is not so much of an issue. It's understandable from a geriatric leader who has memory deficit. Same thing was happening with Mr. Biden because he was also approaching 80s when he was the president. Cognitive deficit seems to be increasing, and we understand that. But Mr. Gore, who has been appointed as US ambassador to India, also carries a dual responsibility. He is also a special envoy of President of United States to Central Asian and South Asian countries. Now, that's a very unusual arrangement because in that capacity, he looks after 17 other Asian countries. There is a conflict there. There's a conflict of interest. Are you being truly US diplomat to India, US ambassador to India, or you are being a State Department functionary? Roles are different. And sometimes there will be conflict because State Department's interest in neighborhood of India may conflict with his role as ambassador to India. The role of ambassador is not just to convey the messages of your own country, but you also have responsibility and duty to improve the bilateral relationship by carrying the message from the host country. Now, if you have a mandate to take care of 17 other Asian countries' affairs for State Department, that is definitely going to interfere with your role as ambassador to India, and that seems to be happening. There have been other instances which are making waves. Mr. Gore, in his role as ambassador to India, US ambassador to India, has held meetings with at least 10 chief ministers. At least 4 out of 5 chief ministers in southern Indian states, he has had bilateral meetings. And that raises eyebrows. And when he met with Mr. Joseph Vijay, the chief minister of Tamil Nadu, the verbiage was very unfortunate because he referred to bilateral relationship between the United States and Tamil Nadu, our both countries. Tamil Nadu is not a sovereign country. Tamil Nadu is a state in the Union of India. He has visited some border states which are very sensitive. So he did meet with the Chief Minister of Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, where he made a statement about Jammu and Kashmir being part of India. But one does not know what gets discussed in these bilateral meetings with chief ministers. United States has been for more than a decade, almost 2 decades, has been adopting this attitude of subnational diplomacy, in which US ambassadors have been meeting chief ministers directly without MEA representatives being present. And that is not the routine diplomacy as we know it. There should be a representative of MEA present during those meetings so that the nation knows what is being discussed behind closed doors by the US ambassador. Is the ambassador only an ambassador, or is what behaving like a viceroy? That needs to be clarified, and eyebrows are being raised. There is some impression that maybe United States is trying to diminish India and humiliate Indian side because of policy differences between government of India and United States government, specifically on issues like purchasing crude oil from Russia or promoting BRICS as an alternative geo-economic grouping. And both of those are plausible explanations. United States has differences with India about India purchasing crude oils from Russia. Actually, during Biden administration, when the Ukraine war started, US encouraged India to purchase crude oil from Russia so that the international prices can be stabilized. But now a bill has been passed in US Senate which calls for 100% tariffs on countries that purchase crude oil from Russia. And the countries that are likely to be affected are definitely India, China, and some other countries. So it is plausible that US diplomatic efforts are to curtail India's independent stance on purchasing Russian crude oil, that's not going to happen. India is an independent sovereign nation, and they will continue to do what is in their national interest. The second issue about BRICS, even President Trump gave a threat that any country that promotes possibility of BRICS currency will be subjected to maybe 500% tariffs. Because having a BRICS currency affects the status of US dollar as an international reserve currency. Now, what US side does not understand that yes, India is part of BRICS. India does believe in multi-alignment and an independent stance, what has been called as strategic autonomy or strategic independence. But Indian side will never promote a unified BRICS currency because that will be falling into the Chinese trap. China does want yuan or renminbi to be the international reserve currency in comparison to US dollar. And for India, it's not beneficial to have China touting its national currency as international reserve currency. Yes, India will promote cross-border bilateral trades or even plurilateral trade in local currencies, bypassing the dollar because dollar has been used as a trade weapon. Countries have been excluded and sanctions have been put. But that is where US behavior needs to change. Unfortunately, US-India relationship that was going very well since beginning of this century, almost for last 2.5 decades, has taken a turn for worse. And the current US administration does not seem to be in a hurry to modify their approach of engaging India. I think there's a lack of historical memory. India has been a country that has been sanctioned very heavily by United States in the past. India has been subjected to sanctions related to 1974, Pokhran peaceful nuclear explosion, 1998, nuclear tests, as well as on India's missile system. So India has been used to US sanctions, and threat of future tariffs or further tariffs is not going to deter India from taking an autonomous, independent, strategic stance, or it is not going to force India to cease practicing multi-alignment, which is in its national interest. So let's see what happens next. I'll give a pass to United States as well as Sergio Gore on the issue of President Trump being forgetful and not remembering the ask of MEA in the joint press appearance in Evian-le-Bon in French Alps. But other issues are certainly significant, and they portray lack of understanding by a diplomat who is essentially a conservative businessman who has years of the President Trump. We shall end this message at this juncture, and I'll be back giving my views in future about the status of the India-US diplomatic relationship.